The speakers of today's session are Remit Chennithala IRS. Remit Chennithala was part of the computer science batch of 2010 to 2014 in Marbacelis College. He secured IRS in 2017 with an All India rank of 210, and he is personally working as the Assistant Commissioner of Income Tax Department at Bangalore. Dr. Krishnan Jisha. Dr. Krishnan Jisha was part of the Electronics and Communication Engineering batch of 2003 to 2007 at Marbacelis College. He did his PhD at IIM Kozhikode and worked as an assistant professor at IIM Visakhapatnam. He is currently working as an assistant professor at IIM Lucknow. Major Shiju Nainan. Major Shiju Nainan was part of the Electrical and Electronics Engineering batch of 2010 to 2014 at Marbacelis College. He did his training at Indian Military Academy, Dehradun in the year 2015 and got commissioned into the Indian Army at the Regiment of Air Defence in December 2015. He is currently posted at Ambala, Haryana. Without further ado, let's begin the session with the first speaker of the day, Remit Chennithala. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anandarshan. A very good evening to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here speaking to you guys. It's always a blessing to be able to come back to your alma mater, speak to young minds, especially an institution where you've been a part of. Though it's like I said, it's my pleasure that I'm able to sit here and speak to all of you. And in addition to that, also the fact that I am one of the panelists with such distinguished individuals, um, especially Shiju, who is my batchmate. I remember way back in 2010 to 2014, he used to be a very timid kid, but it's like I said, it's always a great pleasure to be part of such a panel. Where thank you to begin with to Marbacelis College for giving me this opportunity. So I've been allotted 30 minutes time. We have 40 odd students in this session. So this is how we're going to go about this. I'll be speaking in a mix of English and Malayalam, um, just for the sake of it, because being in Kerala, it will be very unhealthy to be speaking only in English. So I'll start off with my journey on how I chose or decided to appear for the civil services examination in the first place. I'll cover that in let's say 10 to 15 odd minutes, and after that, Ananda Krishnan can take over, and all of you could ask me questions if you have any, and that way we could kill the 30 odd minutes. I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible. Try not to bore you, because listening to speakers, because I've also been at your place, on your side, once upon a time. But even today, I've always cherished opportunities to listen to speakers. Anyway, so I was a 2010-2014 batch, computer science graduate from Marbacelis. I did my schooling from Delhi. After that, I decided to come over to Kerala, my home state, for my graduation. I did my computer science and engineering, and then after that, to be very honest, when I sat for campus recruitment towards the end of third year, beginning of fourth year, I honestly I was quite confused whether I should go for the IT industry or not. But I did want to get selected in a few companies, and that's how I ended up getting a job in four companies back to back, um, which were, I think, Infosys, TCS, Mu Sigma, and Suntech, if I'm not wrong. Not Mu Sigma, not Mu Sigma. I think Mu Sigma was the first one that came in, but I could not clear that. That gave me the push for the other ones. I think it was SIB, yeah, South Indian Bank, yeah, not Mu Sigma. Anyway, so these were the four companies I got in. But by the end of fourth year, I did not have a very strong inclination to get into the IT industry, despite being a computer science graduate. Somehow I lost that drive. I always wanted to do something social to be able to interact with a lot many people, because I was not very fond of. I mean, it sounds very ironic that I'm sitting in front of a computer and telling people that I did not really want to sit in front of a laptop or a computer system and then work, um, 8 to 10 hours a day within the confines of a wall. I am a very social person. I like to go out and interact with people. So that's how I decided to appear for the civil services. So that's how it all began. To be very also one more thing, one major initiative or one major push that I got is also because of an initiative that happened in Marbasilius. ഞാൻ അവിടെ പഠിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ ഫൈനൽ ഇയർ ആയിരുന്നപ്പോഴാണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു നമ്മളൊരു സിവിൽ സർവീസസ് ക്ലബ് ഉണ്ടാക്കി. ഇപ്പോഴും അത് അവിടെ ഉണ്ടെന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു വിശ്വാസം. സിവിൽ സർവീസസ് ക്ലബ് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയപ്പോൾ അന്ന് ഒരു എൻട്രൻസ് എക്സാമിനേഷൻ പോലെ ഒരു എൻട്രൻസ് ടെസ്റ്റ് പോലെ അവിടെ നടത്തി. ആ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഞാൻ എഴുതാനിരുന്നതല്ല. അന്ന് എനിക്ക് സിവിൽ സർവീസിന് ഒരു താല്പര്യം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. അപ്പൊ ഈ 3-ാം വർഷം അവസാനമാണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു ഈ ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റ് നടത്തിയപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ആ ടെസ്റ്റിന് പോയി അപ്പിയർ ചെയ്തു. എന്തോ കാരണം കൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് നല്ല സ്കോർ കിട്ടി. ആ എൻട്രൻസ് ടെസ്റ്റ് നമ്മുടെ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ സിവിൽ സർവീസ് ക്ലബിലേക്കുള്ള ഒരു എൻട്രൻസ് ടെസ്റ്റ് മാത്രമാണ്. അതെനിക്ക് നല്ലൊരു മാർക്കോട് കൂടി തന്നെ ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റി. അന്ന് പത്രവായന ഒരു നല്ല ശീലമായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ തോന്നിയ ഒരു ഐഡിയ ആണ്, ഒരുപക്ഷെ നാളെ എനിക്ക് സിവിൽ സർവീസിന് അപ്പിയർ ചെയ്തു കൂടെ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ ആ ഒരു സിവിൽ സർവീസ് ക്ലബ് എന്ന ഒരു ഐഡിയ എൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ വലിയൊരു മാറ്റം ഉണ്ടാക്കി. 2014-15 കാലഘട്ടത്തിലാണ് ഞാൻ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ തുടങ്ങുന്നത്. അതിനുശേഷം 2017 അനന്തകൃഷ്ണൻ ആദ്യം സൂചിപ്പിച്ചതുപോലെ 2017 പരീക്ഷയിൽ ഞാൻ പരീക്ഷ ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യുന്നു. എന്നിട്ട് ട്രെയിനിങ്ങിന് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷൻ, ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഇന്ത്യൻ റവന്യൂ സർവീസിന്റെ ട്രെയിനിങ് നടക്കുന്നത് ശരിക്കും നാഗ്പൂരിൽ, മഹാരാഷ്ട്രയിൽ നാഗ്പൂരിൽ നാഷണൽ അക്കാഡമി ഫോർ ഡയറക്ട് ടാക്സസ് ഉണ്ട്, NADT എന്ന് വിളിക്കും. ആ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷനിൽ ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ഏകദേശം 16 മാസത്തോളം ട്രെയിനിങ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ ട്രെയിനിങ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ കർണാടകയിൽ പോസ്റ്റിംഗ് മേടിച്ചത്. ഇപ്പോൾ കറന്റ്ലി ഐ എം പോസ്റ്റഡ് ഇൻ ബാംഗ്ലൂർ ആസ് വെൽ ആസ് മൈസൂർ, ഷിമോഗ. ഐ എം ഹോൾഡിംഗ് എ ചാർജ് ഫോർ അസസ്മെന്റ് യൂണിറ്റ് there. So that's how I began. So I'll also speak on 2 other parts of my journey, which is one is the preparation phase. പൊതുവെ സിവിൽ സർവീസ് സർക്കിൾസിൽ പറയാറുള്ള കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ ഫേസ് ആണ് ഏറ്റവും ഭംഗിയുള്ള ഫേസ് എന്ന് പറയും. കാരണം ഒരുപക്ഷെ ജോലിയിൽ കയറി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത്രമാത്രം നമുക്ക് ആസ്വദിക്കാൻ സാധിക്കത്തില്ല. ഒരുപാട് വർക്ക് ലോഡ് ഉണ്ട്. നമ്മൾ വർക്ക് ലൈഫ് ബാലൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയെടുക്കണം. കാരണം നമുക്ക് അവധി എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു സാധനമില്ല. നമ്മൾ 24/7 ആണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. വി ആർ ഗവൺമെന്റ് സർവൻസ്, വി ആർ പീപ്പിൾസ് സർവൻസ് ആൻഡ് നോട്ട് as in the common parlance they say, we are not rulers, we are servants, we actually serve the people, right? അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നമുക്കൊരു ടൈം സ്കെയിൽ, ഒരു ടൈം ഷെഡ്യൂൾ ഒന്നുമില്ല. നമ്മൾ 24/7 വർക്കേഴ്സ് ആണ്, ഗവൺമെന്റ് സർവൻസ് ആണ്. അപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ ഫേസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ it was like I said, I never had a dream, childhood dream to get into the civil services. It was a decision that I took one fine day when I realized that I did not want to get into the IT industry. That's how I decided to choose civil service. I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. So I gave that idea to my parents and they were very supportive. They said, go for it. Though I could not clear my first attempt, finally when I cleared in my third attempt, I was very glad that I took that decision. And that's, rest is history as far as my life is concerned. So my preparation phase, I made a lot of friends. A lot of my friends managed to clear the examination. Some of them are the IAS, some of them the IPS. Perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is that you get to meet people from all over the country. In fact, I have colleagues from Bhutan as well. കാരണം നമ്മുടെ ഒരു ഇന്ത്യ ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ ഒരു പ്രോജക്റ്റ് അനുസരിച്ച് IRSന്റെ ട്രെയിനിങ്ങിന്റെ സമയത്ത് ഭൂട്ടാനിൽ നിന്നുള്ള അവരുടെ ഭൂട്ടാനിലെ, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയായിരിക്കും, ഭൂട്ടാൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ ഒരു നെയ്ബറിംഗ് രാജ്യമാണ്. അവിടുത്തെ റവന്യൂ സർവീസിലെ ഓഫീസേഴ്സിനെ നമ്മുടെ കൂടെ ട്രെയിൻ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാം ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ യു ഗെറ്റ് ടു ഇന്ററാക്ട് വിത്ത് സച്ച് ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ മൈൻഡ്സ് all around the country, including our neighbor in Bhutan. So those interactions really help you mature as an individual. You get a lot many contacts, not only for your personal benefit, it really empowers you for your official duties as well. നാളെ എനിക്കിപ്പം അരുണാചൽ പ്രദേശിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒഫീഷ്യൽ ഡ്യൂട്ടിക്ക് പോകണമെങ്കിൽ all I need to do is pick up my phone and call my colleague there. He or she could be from my own service, or that individual could be from some other service, whatever the case be. Same way with, let's say, Jammu and Kashmir, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, everywhere. I don't think there's any other profession out there currently that gives such an avenue for people to interact and make contacts. So that is one, perhaps the biggest takeaway that I've got from this services. Now to the second part, which is the post clearing part. Because I said I'll limit my speech to 15 minutes so that you can ask me questions later on. So post, like I said, I cleared in 2017. So the examination was in 2017, but technically I'm a 2018 batch IRS officer. Training in Nagpur, I chose to work in Karnataka. I did not want to come to Kerala. So basically the civil services are divided into two parts. One is the All India service, which basically comprises of the All India, the Indian Administrative Service, IAS, IPS, and the Indian Forest Service. This three service system, cadre system. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇവർ കേരള കാഡർ, തമിഴ്നാടു കാഡർ, ഓരോ കാഡറായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് അവരുടെ സർവീസ് അലൊക്കേഷൻ നടക്കുന്നത്. എന്നാൽ ഞാൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്നെ പോലത്തെ IRSലും മറ്റ് സർവീസുകാരെ വിളിക്കുന്നത് സെൻട്രൽ സർവീസസ് എന്നാണ്. Central services are directly posted under the central government. That's why they called central services. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നമുക്ക് ഇന്ത്യയിൽ എവിടെ വേണമെങ്കിലും പോസ്റ്റിംഗ് ചോദിച്ചും മേടിക്കാം, അതേസമയം ഗവൺമെന്റിൽ നമ്മളെ അപ്പോയിന്റും ചെയ്യും. അപ്പം എൻ്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓപ്ഷൻ കർണാടക ആയിരുന്നു. Thankfully, I got into Karnataka. So Karnataka and Goa, these two states come under our jurisdiction. I did not want to come to Kerala in my in the initial phase of my career, simply because I wanted to get some exposure. I like traveling around the world. I like traveling and meeting new people, and I also thought it's a great opportunity to learn a new language. So I'm right now trying to understand, how difficult Kannada is. Anyway, as of now, Kannada gottilla ennu maathame പഠിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളൂ. അതുകൊണ്ട് കന്നഡ സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ ഈ കൂട്ടത്തിലുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എന്നോട് ചോദിക്കരുത്. അടുത്തൊരു സെഷൻ വരുമ്പോഴേക്കും hopefully I'll be able to speak fluently. So that's so like I said, post civil services, after clearing the examination, that is, IRS, Indian Revenue Service, and രണ്ട് സർവീസസ് ഉണ്ട് റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ട്. ഇൻകം ടാക്സിലും ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ റവന്യൂ സർവീസ് ഉണ്ട്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കസ്റ്റംസിലും ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ റവന്യൂ സർവീസസ് ഉണ്ട്. എൻ്റെ റാങ്ക് അനുസരിച്ച് എനിക്ക് 210ാമത്തെ റാങ്ക് ആയിരുന്നു. I could have got into IPS, but I chose to get into the IRS. അങ്ങനെ ഞാൻ IRSൽ കയറി. I was not very fond of the uniformed services. Anyway, so IRS income tax, it's a very technical service because you're dealing primarily with Indian income tax. But I know in future I'll get ample opportunities to go on deputation. When I say deputation, it basically means that I can go and work for the central government directly, let's say in Delhi, in avenues which come directly under the central government and not just income tax. Similarly, I can also come and work for the state government as and when I choose. So in a career span, because I got into the service at the age of 26, I'll get a service of 34 years till I'm 60. So I'll basically be retiring in 2051 because I was born in 91. So I'll get a service till 2051, December 31st, because you retire on the last day of the month you were born. That's the system. So like I said, so I get a total of 10 years of deputation. ഇപ്പം 34 വർഷത്തെ സർവീസ് എനിക്ക് കിട്ടുമ്പോൾ 5 വർഷം എനിക്ക് ഏതെങ്കിലും സ്റ്റേറ്റ് സർവീസിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാം, 5 വർഷം എനിക്ക് സെൻട്രൽ ഗവൺമെന്റിൽ ഡയറക്ട്ലി ഇപ്പോൾ ഡൽഹിയിലോ മറ്റ് അവന്യൂസിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാം. അതേസമയം ഡിസ്പൈറ്റ് ബീങ് an IRS officer, I can always skill myself, upskill myself. There are ample opportunities to go for higher studies. Government gives you ample opportunities because that is the best part of the service. And you have an amazing job security. Of course, these things matter, but my desire to come into the service was not just for job security. My desire was to serve the people. I would have been, it would have been a different case had I got into the IAS, but that did not happen. But I have no regrets because every service it has its own merits and demerits. ഇതായിരുന്നു എൻ്റെ യാത്ര. ഇപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ കറന്റ്ലി അസിസ്റ്റന്റ് കമ്മീഷണറായിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഇൻകം ടാക്സ് ആണ് പ്രൈമറിലി നമ്മുടെ ഫോട്ടെ, നമ്മുടെ മെയിൻ ഏരിയ ഓഫ് കൺസേൺ. We assess people's ITRs, income tax returns, and അതിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും തെറ്റുപാടുണ്ടെങ്കിലോ അതിൽ ആരെങ്കിലും അധികമായിട്ട് ടാക്സ് അടച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ റീഫണ്ട് ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കും. കുറവടച്ചേക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ നാച്ചുറലി അവരുടെ തന്നെ പിന്നെയും കൂടുതൽ ടാക്സ് അടയ്ക്കാനുള്ള നോട്ടീസ് അയച്ചു കൊടുക്കും. പിന്നെ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേഷൻ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ഇടയ്ക്ക് നിങ്ങൾ കേരളത്തിൽ തന്നെ ഒരുപാട് എൻഫോഴ്സ്മെന്റ് ഡയറക്ടറേറ്റ് ED എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ ഒരുപാട് റേറ്റ്സിനെ കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ വാർത്ത കേട്ട് കാണും. പൊതുവെ IRS അങ്ങനെ ലൈംലൈറ്റിൽ വരുന്ന ഒരു സർവീസ് അല്ല. കാരണം IAS IPS പോലെ പബ്ലിക് ഇന്ററാക്ഷൻ ഡയറക്ട്ലി ഉള്ളൊരു സർവീസ് അല്ല IRS. പക്ഷേ ഇതുപോലത്തെ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ ബാക്ക് ബോൺ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, ഒരു സ്റ്റേറ്റിന്റെ ബാക്ക് ബോൺ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതിന്റെ റവന്യൂ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ആണ്. ആ റവന്യൂവിന്റെ മേജർ ചങ്ക് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇൻകം ടാക്സ് ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ I am quite blessed to be able to be a part of this department, which contributes a great amount of money into the government coffers, which eventually goes on to serve the people in terms of the social schemes that are brought out by both central and state governments. So this is my journey. So right now I'm working, like I said, in Bangalore. Civil services is an amazing arena if you want to get into, directly jump into a mid-level policy making platform. Like I said, no other. This is more like the other side of a coin called politics. Politics basically deals with policy making, while bureaucrats deal with policy implementation. ഇതാണ് വ്യത്യാസം. But of course, bureaucrats put in a lot of inputs because bureaucrats or civil servants are basically the thinking minds of the country as far as policy making is concerned. So that is definitely a great opportunity for all you young minds out there who have a lot of boiling blood to expend for the benefit of the country, of the world, for humanity, everything. So like I said, I'm pretty sure at least some of you would be greatly interested in getting to the civil services. If you do, keep that fire alight so that eventually someday you also get to be a civil servant. So over to you, Anandakrishnan. That's all from my side. You could ask me questions, and even the participants can chip in.
For an engineering graduate, how will you recommend a preparation strategy for UPSC exam if he or she is starting from scratch?
എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ്, നമ്മുടെ ഗ്രാജുവേഷൻ എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത് ഇറെലവൻ്റ് ആണ് ആസ് ഫാർ സിവിൽ സർവീസസ് കൺസേൺ. കാരണം നമ്മുടെ എന്ത് ഗ്രാജുവേഷൻ ആണെങ്കിലും ഇതിനകത്തെ മാനദണ്ഡം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ആകെ പറയുന്ന ക്വാളിഫിക്കേഷൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് 21 വയസ്സുണ്ടായിരിക്കണം, അതുകൂടാതെ നിങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ഗ്രാജുവേഷൻ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം. അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ, വേറെ ഒന്നുമില്ല. അപ്പൊ ഈ 2 മാനദണ്ഡം മാത്രം ഫോളോ ചെയ്താൽ മതി. അത് രണ്ടും നിങ്ങൾ ക്വാളിഫൈ ചെയ്താൽ മതി, പിന്നെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് പരീക്ഷയ്ക്ക് അപ്പിയർ ചെയ്യാം. ബേസിക്കലി നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നോക്കേണ്ട ഒരു കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, നിങ്ങൾ ഫൈനൽ ഇയർ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഈ മോട്ടിവേഷൻ ഭയങ്കര സ്ട്രോങ് ആണെങ്കിൽ, പൊതുവെ നമ്മൾ ഈ മോട്ടിവേഷൻ സ്പീച്ചസിലൊക്കെ കേൾക്കുന്ന പോലെ എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ മോട്ടിവേഷനേക്കാളും എപ്പോഴും ഇന്റേണൽ മോട്ടിവേഷൻ ആയിരിക്കും കുറച്ചുകൂടെ സ്ട്രോങ്. നിങ്ങളുടെ മാതാപിതാക്കളോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ കൂട്ടുകാരികളോ വല്ലതും ഈ പരീക്ഷയ്ക്ക് പഠിക്കുന്നുണ്ടെന്നുള്ള പേരിൽ മാത്രം ഇരുന്ന് സിവിൽ സർവീസിന് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യരുത്. കാരണം ഇറ്റ്സ് എ വെരി സീരിയസ് എക്സാമിനേഷൻ. ഇറ്റ് ടേക്സ് ഇൻ എ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് എഫേർട്ട് ടു ക്ലിയർ ദി എക്സാമിനേഷൻ because a lot many people are committed towards it. അതുകൊണ്ട് പറയുന്നതേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ മോട്ടിവേഷൻ ഭയങ്കര സ്ട്രോങ് ആണെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ റെക്കമെൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾ ഫൈനൽ ഇയർ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ, കാരണം നിങ്ങളുടെ കോളേജ് പഠനവും മുഖ്യമാണ്, അതിനെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ബാക്ക് ബർണറിൽ വെക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. കോളേജ് പഠനവും സീരിയസ് ആയിട്ട് തന്നെ എടുക്കണം. പക്ഷെ ഫൈനൽ ഇയറിലായിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾ പതുക്കെ പഠിച്ചു തുടങ്ങി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കോളേജ് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഉടനെ തന്നെ പരീക്ഷയ്ക്ക് അപ്പിയർ ചെയ്തിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഫസ്റ്റ് അറ്റംപ്റ്റിൽ തന്നെ ഹോപ്പ്ഫുള്ളി ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. അതുകൊണ്ട് പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ സ്ട്രാറ്റജിയെ കുറിച്ച് ഒരുപാട് ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് ഞാൻ പോകുന്നില്ല. അതിനുള്ള ഒരുപാട് മീഡിയംസ് ഇപ്പം തന്നെ ഇന്റർനെറ്റിലൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. യൂട്യൂബിലെ വീഡിയോസും ഒരുപാട് ടോപ്പേഴ്സിന്റെ ബ്ലോഗ്സും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. ഒരു സജഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, എൻ്റെ ബാച്ച്മേറ്റ് കം ഫസ്റ്റ് റാങ്ക് ഹോൾഡർ ഓഫ് മൈ ബാച്ച് വാസ് വൺ മിസ്റ്റർ അനുദീപ് ദുർഷെട്ടി. ഈസ് കറന്റ്ലി പോസ്റ്റഡ് ഇൻ ആന്ധ്രാപ്രദേശ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അനുദീപ് ദുർഷെട്ടിയുടെ ഒരു ബ്ലോഗ് ഉണ്ട്, നിങ്ങൾ വെറുതെ സെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കിയാൽ മതി. ഈസ് എ 2018 ബാച്ച് ഫസ്റ്റ് റാങ്ക് ഹോൾഡർ, ആൻ അമേസിംഗ് ഇൻഡിവിജ്വൽ, എ ഗ്രേറ്റ് ഫ്രണ്ട് ഓഫ് മൈൻ. അങ്ങേരുടെ ബ്ലോഗ് ഒന്ന് സെർച്ച് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടും. ഹി ഹാസ് given a detailed analysis of how you should prepare for the examination. So go through that. You will definitely be able to clear the examination if you start off in your 4th year itself.
Okay, sir. The next question is, sir, which subject is better to be taken as an optional subject in UPSC exam based on preparation time?
എല്ലാ സബ്ജക്റ്റിനും, എല്ലാ ഓപ്ഷണൽ സബ്ജക്റ്റിനും അതിൻ്റെതായിട്ടുള്ള മെറിറ്റ്സും ഡീമെറിറ്റ്സും ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഇന്ന സബ്ജക്റ്റ് പഠിച്ചാൽ മാത്രമേ ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യത്തുള്ളൂ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയത്തില്ല. എൻ്റെ ഓപ്ഷണൽ സബ്ജക്ട് പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ആയിരുന്നു. അത് എടുക്കാൻ 2 കാരണമുണ്ട്. ഒന്ന്, എനിക്ക് ഹിസ്റ്ററിയോട് ഭയങ്കര താല്പര്യമായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ ഹിസ്റ്ററി എടുക്കാൻ പോയപ്പോൾ എന്നോട് കുറച്ച് പേര് എന്നെ നിരുത്സാഹപ്പെടുത്തി. എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞു ഒരുപാട് വായിക്കാനുണ്ട്, വായിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാലും ഒരുപക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മാർക്ക് കിട്ടണമെന്നില്ല എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് സൈഡ് ലൈനായി പോയി, സത്യം പറയാലോ. പക്ഷെ അന്നത് അത് ശരിയോ തെറ്റോ, ഇറ്റ് ഡസൻ റിയലി മാറ്റർ ബിക്കോസ് ഇവൻച്വലി ഐ മാനേജ് ടു ക്ലിയർ ദി എക്സാമിനേഷൻ. പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ഞാൻ ചൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ കാരണം നമ്മൾ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേറ്റർ ആവാൻ വേണ്ടി ഒരു പരീക്ഷ എഴുതാൻ പോകുമ്പോൾ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷന്റെ തിയറിറ്റിക്കൽ പാർട്ട് നന്നായിട്ട് പഠിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നാച്ചുറലി നമ്മുടെ പ്രാക്ടിക്കൽ ആസ്പെക്റ്റിൽ അത് ഒരുപാട് സഹായിക്കും. ആ ഒരു ഒറ്റ കാരണം കൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ എടുത്തത്. അതുകൂടാതെ സബ്ജക്ട് വായിച്ചു തുടങ്ങി കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എനിക്കത് ഒരുപാട് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു. പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഏത് സബ്ജക്റ്റും എടുക്കാം. എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ്സിന് ഏകദേശം 20-22 സബ്ജക്ട്സ് ഉണ്ട്. എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ്സിന് ഇപ്പോൾ നിലവിൽ UPSCയുടെ ഓപ്ഷൻ സബ്ജക്ട്സിന്റെ ലിസ്റ്റിൽ 3 സബ്ജക്ട്സ് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ: സിവിൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ്, മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ്, ഇലക്ട്രിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ്. കാരണം ഇതാണ് ഓൾഡസ്റ്റ് സിവിൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ബ്രാഞ്ചസ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സയൻസിനൊന്നും അവിടെ പ്രസക്തിയില്ല. കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സയൻസിന്റെ ഓപ്ഷൻ സബ്ജക്റ്റ് ഇല്ല. അപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ ഈ 3 ബ്രാഞ്ചസിൽ ഒരാളാണെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ സബ്ജക്ട് തന്നെ എടുക്കാം. പക്ഷെ ഐ വുഡ് പേഴ്സണലി റെക്കമെൻഡ് ഗോ ഫോർ എ സോഷ്യൽ സയൻസ് സബ്ജക്ട്. സോഷ്യൽ സയൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ പബ്ലിക് അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ആവാം, സോഷ്യോളജി ആവാം, ആന്ത്രോപോളജി ആവാം, പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ സയൻസ് ആവാം. അപ്പൊ ഇതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ സയൻസ് സബ്ജക്ട് എടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഗുണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് സൊസൈറ്റിയെ കുറിച്ച്, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ്സ് ആയതുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മളൊരു ടെക്നിക്കൽ ഗ്രാജുവേഷൻ ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ടിൽ നിന്ന് വരുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് സൊസൈറ്റിയെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള അറിവ് ചിലപ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് കുറവായിരിക്കും. ഈ ആർട്സും ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചു വരുന്ന കുട്ടികളെക്കാളും, ഹ്യൂമാനിറ്റീസ് ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചു വരുന്ന കുട്ടികളെക്കാളും കുറച്ചുകൂടെ നമുക്ക് സൊസൈറ്റിയെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള അറിവ് കുറവായിരിക്കും. അത് വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു ഘടകമാണ് സിവിൽ സർവീസ് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ട് നിങ്ങൾ സോഷ്യൽ സയൻസ് സബ്ജക്ട് എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നാളെ നിങ്ങൾ പരീക്ഷ ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്ത് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നല്ലൊരു ഓഫീസറായിട്ട് സെർവ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കുമെന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ വ്യക്തിപരമായിട്ടുള്ള അഭിപ്രായം. അത് നിങ്ങളുടെ പേഴ്സണൽ ചോയ്സ് ആണ്. അതിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഏത് സബ്ജക്ട് എടുത്താലും തെറ്റില്ല. കാരണം അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ്ലി വാട്ട് മാറ്റേഴ്സ് ഇസ് വെദർ യു ക്ലിയർ ദി എക്സാമിനേഷൻ ഓർ നോട്ട്. ഓവർ ടു യു അനന്തകൃഷ്ണൻ. അടുത്ത ചോദ്യം.
That's all the questions, sir.
ഓക്കെ, എനിക്കൊന്ന് ചാറ്റ് ബോക്സിൽ ഒരാൾ ഒരു ചോദ്യം ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അക്ഷയ, during your preparation, what do you think you could have improved during your first attempts and how did you overcome that? See, I think 99% of the job is yours. You have to walk the path. No matter who your guide is, all they can do is open the door for you. You have to walk beyond it. അതാണ് ഒന്നാമത്തെ ഒരു ലെസൺ. രണ്ടാമത്തെ ഒരു പാഠം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നല്ലൊരു ഗൈഡ് കിട്ടുക എന്നതും വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. അപ്പൊ എനിക്ക് തുടക്കത്തിൽ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു, ഞാൻ പൊതുവെ പറയാറ് ഡൽഹിയിലൊക്കെ പോയി പഠിച്ചാലേ കിട്ടത്തുള്ളൂ എന്നാണ്. പക്ഷെ നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം, ഇപ്പം മലയാളികളൊക്കെ ഒരുപാട് പേര് ഇപ്പം സിവിൽ സർവീസും പഠിച്ച് ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യുന്നവരുണ്ട്. ഒരുപക്ഷെ അത് ഇത്രയും കമ്പറ്റീറ്റീവ് ആയതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇപ്പം പൊതുവെ ഒരു സിവിൽ സർവീസ് പ്രൈവറ്റ് ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷണൽ കൾച്ചർ കേരളത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടായി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞൊരു 5-8 കൊല്ലമായിട്ട്. നല്ല കാര്യമാണ്. കാരണം അതുകൊണ്ട് കുട്ടികൾക്കൊക്കെ ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ അറിവുണ്ട്. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇത് പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ കറന്റ്ലി പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന കുട്ടികളോട് സംസാരിച്ച് അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് 1-2 തവണ പ്രിലിമിനറിയും മെയിൻസും പരീക്ഷയൊക്കെ എഴുതി കിട്ടാതെ പോയവരോട് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അവരായിരിക്കും നിങ്ങളുടെ ബെസ്റ്റ് ഗൈഡ്. കാരണം അവർക്ക് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ പരീക്ഷയുടെ പാറ്റേൺ എന്താണെന്ന് നന്നായിട്ട് മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുള്ളവരായിരിക്കും. അതുകൊണ്ട് എൻ്റെ തുടക്കത്തിൽ എനിക്ക് അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ഗൈഡൻസ് കിട്ടിയില്ല, എൻ്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ അറ്റംപ്റ്റിൽ പ്രത്യേകിച്ചും. എൻ്റെ രണ്ടാമത്തെ അറ്റംപ്റ്റിൽ അവിടെ ഒന്നും ഞാൻ ട്വീക്ക് ചെയ്തെടുത്തപ്പോഴാണ്, എൻ്റെ പ്രിപ്പറേഷൻ സ്ട്രാറ്റജി 1-2 തവണ ഞാൻ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ട്വീക്ക് ചെയ്തെടുത്തപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് മൂന്നാമത്തെ അറ്റംപ്റ്റ് ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിച്ചത്. അപ്പോൾ നല്ലൊരു ഗൈഡ് കിട്ടുക എന്നത് വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. ഒരു ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂഷനിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യണമെന്നൊന്നും ഞാൻ പറയത്തില്ല, പക്ഷെ ഒരു മെന്റോർ ആയിട്ട് ഒരാളുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ I think the path becomes much easier for you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for cutting you short, but we have a time limit. So
yeah, sure, no problem.
So as a token of appreciation, IEEE PES SBC MBCT would like to present to you a virtual memento. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So all the very best to all of you. All I can say is that read a lot many books. And ഒരു advice എന്ന രീതിയിൽ, I know I'm not a very old person enough to use the word advice or give you guys advice, but still it's a humble request. You can take it as a humble request. Read a lot many books. ഇന്ന പുസ്തകം ഇന്ന ഭാഷ എന്നതില്ല. മലയാളം പുസ്തകമാവാം, ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് പുസ്തകങ്ങളാവാം. Read as many books as possible. പുസ്തകങ്ങളുടെ ലോകം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നിങ്ങളുടെ കാഴ്ചപ്പാട് തന്നെ മാറ്റിയെടുക്കും. ഇന്നലെ തന്നെ ഞാൻ ഭ്രമം എന്ന സിനിമയുടെ ഒരു ട്രെയിലർ കണ്ടപ്പോൾ അതിനകത്ത് കേട്ട ഒരു ഡയലോഗ് എനിക്ക് ഒരുപാട് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. ഇന്നത്തെ കാലത്ത് ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എല്ലാവർക്കും കാഴ്ചയുണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ കാഴ്ചപ്പാടില്ല എന്ന് പറയും. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും എവരിബഡി ഹാസ് എൻ ഐ സൈറ്റ്, ബട്ട് വെരി ഫ്യൂ പീപ്പിൾ ഹാവ് എ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ്. അപ്പോൾ ആ നിങ്ങളുടെ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് നന്നാക്കി എടുക്കാൻ ഏറ്റവും നല്ലൊരു മാർഗം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പുസ്തക വായനയാണ്. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ ജസ്റ്റ് വൺ ഫൈനൽ തിങ്, interact with as many people as possible. Don't just confine your whether you choose civil services as your path or not. It's quite immaterial when you look at life as a much larger game which you can succeed, and accept, always be ready to face failures as well, because we all are going to come across them in future. All the very best to all of you. Once again IEEE എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും. Thank you Nikhil, Anandakrishnan, and Kessia, if I'm not wrong. You guys have done a great job. So once again, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll meet again in person once the COVID pandemic dies down. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we will move on to our second speaker of the day, Dr. Krishnan Jisha. Welcome, sir.
Yes, that was very interesting listening to him. I would actually reiterate what Mr. Amit was saying, that, please read as much as possible and also accept failures. In fact, I tell my students to pursue failure, because that's the only way you are actually going to grow. Anyway, let's begin. I've actually been called for this particular seminar in a very short notice. So I hope I can do justice to what I've been called for. Although my journey has been a bit longer than Ramit, who was lucky, in fact, to actually, be very clear about what he wants in life and achieve that at a pretty young age. And very kudos to that. My journey and my career has been very, very, very different compared to that. I'll try shedding light into that and why I pursued that as well. And then maybe same format, you can ask me, questions towards the end. And it's always very nice, coming back to your alma mater and getting an opportunity to interact with students who are sitting in the same place where I was almost like, I think it's about 2 decades now since I left Mar Basilius. And I think my topic is to talk about management and academics as a career. But before that, I would like to, start with something which I always tell my students, which is that instead of looking at career, please look at life first and define what is success for you. If you guys, I don't know whether you are an interactive bunch, would one or two of you like to try what is success for you? Have you thought about it? No, you are the silent types, most of you. Okay. Nikhil, you want to try, because you are the only person I have interacted with.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what is success for you? Have you thought about it?
Yes, definitely, sir. Success, but I'm not really sure about what success is, sir.
For you,
It's something which is which is at the extreme. I mean, which is the joy or something, which is the
earning
final
5
joy.
crores, earning 6 crores, owning a house, buying a car.
Yeah,
Would that
just
be
similar to
success?
that, sir. Yeah, similar to that.
Similar to that. So the thing is, hindsight is a big teacher. So I have now, I mean, I'm not that old, but still compared to you all, I'm pretty old. So I have the advantage of hindsight. At your position also, I never thought about this thing in deep about what success is. Now, most of the people I speak to think like this itself: buying a house or building or buying a car or getting a house, all that would come under the purview of maybe success. But over the years, what I have realized is those are just goals, intermediate goals that are fleeting. Once you achieve that, then you feel empty. So you need to actually define success as something which is not fleeting, but something which is more permanent. So in my case, I have now started defining success as if by the end of the day or by the end of the week, when I come back home, do I feel happy? Now, if I feel happy, I am feeling successful. I feel that I have achieved success in life. and that is the parameter with which I judge my life. And why I've told that, maybe I'll explain that over the course of the next 10 or 15 minutes by telling my career path. So Ma Basilius, when I was in the 2003 batch, which is like the second batch of Mar Basilius, we had just started off. Nobody knew there was a college called Mar Basilius. By the time we reached the final year, there were no companies waiting in queue to give us placements and all that. But we were a very gritty batch. We were the batch which actually kicked off crossroads in a very grand scale. We were the batch who actually went out and got the placements. Most of the batch got placed before they passed out. I had multiple offers actually, in fact, even though we didn't have that great placements. And I finally chose to go with Infosys itself. At that time, IT was a big thing, 2007 and all that. And Infosys treated me well. But what happened was, 2 years into Infosys, I understood that the job was very monotonous. Like Ramit itself said, he again, I guess, was very mature for his age. He realized it without getting into the profession itself, that it's very monotonous, especially in a established IT company like your Infi and TCS. You do a lot more documentation work rather than the creative work which drives you, like coding and more learning new technologies and all that. But majority of your time gets spent in documenting what you have done, and I kind of began to hate that. So I finally left the company and I joined MBA. I did my MBA from Bharatidasan Institute of Management. At that point in time, I had gotten 97 percentile, but at that time there were not so many IIMs that I could crack the IIMs with that kind of percentile. That time you needed a 99 percentile at least to get a call. So I did my MBA from Bharatidasan Institute of Management. After which, again, I was lucky enough to get multiple placements. Again, one from Infosys and the second from Tata Motors. But by that time, I was sure I don't want to go back to IT. And also, I had found out that marketing was where my passion lay. Again, on a related front, I had joined MBA with the full intention of doing finance as my major, because BIM Trichy was known for finance at that point in time. And but one trimester into my MBA, I realized that finance was not my cup of tea. Balance sheet never balances, and marketing actually was very creative and very fun to do. And so I thought the marketing is my passion, and I went for it. And so I took Tata Motors as my job instead of Infi, which was paying considerably higher actually. Tata Motors was paying me considerably lower, but I followed what I wanted to do. As I told you, at the end of the day, I should be happy, and that is what drives me in life. I went to Tata Motors. I was handling South Kerala. I was handling sales. I was the territory manager for south of Kerala. I was handling SUV and fleet sales. So I did well there also. I got the President's Award like around 2 times in the 1 year I actually worked in Tata Motors. But what happened again is, towards the end of one quarter of a year, I realized that the work culture was extraordinarily toxic. The pressure was insanely high, and the goals started becoming unrealistic and all that. The day I decided to quit Tata Motors was when my boss actually got a heart attack. So when my boss got a heart attack, I understood that is not the life I wanted. I don't want to, unnecessarily, get a heart attack when I am 30, 34 and all that, which was the age of my boss. The money was good. If you do an MBA, you go to a job, the money is definitely good. You get the returns, what you, invest in and all that. But the problem is the work-life balance suffers. I, as a person, value work-life balance a lot. So I started thinking again as to what makes me happy. In the past, what made me happy. So what I actually realized was, it was college. When I was in college, it made me happy. My memories in Basilius were very fond. My memories in my MBA college were very fond. That is what shaped me as a person. And most of the memories which are happy in my life have generally been from college. So what I did was, I took the cat again. I gave my net also. At the same time, I started up as well my own digital marketing company, which again we broke even in 3-4 months itself, and we started generating profit by 6-7 months. But surprisingly, I got a good score in CAT as well. I cracked the IIM Code FPM interview. FPM is fellow program. Now it is called as PhD program after the IIM Act a couple of years back. I completed my PhD by October 2019, and I joined Amrita School of Business as an assistant professor, and I worked there for around a year. After which I got an offer from IIM Visakhapatnam. That was in this year beginning. In January, I got an offer from IIM Visakhapatnam. I joined around July. Last month, I quit IIM Visakhapatnam. I've gotten an offer from IIM Lucknow. I joined IIM Lucknow yesterday officially, and today I'm just now in the transition phase. That is why I couldn't prepare well for what I'm delivering to you guys. Now, after having spoken all this, I would like to focus a bit on academics as a career, and why I believe that is something you might actually consider. First and foremost, if you want to actually pursue a career in academics, let me tell the good parts of it, and then go to how to go into academics as a career. One thing is the work-life balance is amazing, especially if you are teaching in good colleges like the IIMs and the top tier private colleges also. You would have to ideally teach 120 hours in a year. 120 hours. So that is only the teaching part. There are a lot of preparation and all that goes into it, but still that is very low compared to the effort you will have to put in corporates. In corporates, you might not even get Saturday, Sunday off. You can itself think, you are expected minimum to do at least 8.5 to 9 hours of working per day in corporate. So calculate 120 hours of working in academic counts to around 15 to 20 days of work in your corporate, and I have to do that kind of work only in a year's time. Although I am obviously expected to do a lot of research, I have to do other administrative work and all that, but I have the freedom. I have the complete freedom to choose when I work, what I work in, and what area I want to work in and all that. Unlike a lot of other professions, I do not have a boss who constantly keeps sitting on my head telling me to do this and that and all that. I can choose the topic I want to research in. I can choose how much hours per day I want to research in. I can design my own courses. I can I can go for conferences. I can get research grants to do the things I want to, and all that. Plus, you are always young when you are in academics. That is, I get to interact with students like you, and I get to interact with students from across the country, from different varying ages. The PG batch would most probably be around after you graduate from engineering, around 22 to 26, that age group. I also interact with corporate leaders when they come for the management development programs. I interact with my peers which come for the faculty development programs, and when I go for conferences as well. So this is a very fun kind of a job where you get to interact with diverse. We also interact with the government officials like Ramit also, because they also come for various management development programs here in the IIMs and the top management institutes in the country. Plus, there is a myth that academics are not paid well, but let me assure you, in management discipline, academics are paid well too. I cannot reveal my salary in a public forum, but let me tell you, it is lucrative, and it is actually in par with what you get in corporates as well. In addition, you get funded trips to any of the foreign countries where conferences are happening, where you have to attend the conference obviously for the stipulated time, after which you are free to actually move and visit the country, which again, like Ramit was saying, meeting new people, experiencing new culture completely changes your perspective towards the world and your thought process itself, which is a very valuable thing. If you ask me, you will understand how narrow your thought processes were, and how narrow a worldview you have, unless you don't interact with so many people. Now, on a personal front as well, as I told you, I'm a person who values work-life balance, and in this profession, I can assure you, I get a lot of time for myself. I don't have to pursue only academic interest. If I want to learn a new skill, I want to learn coding. I developed, it does not have anything to do with my job, but I simply learned, coding in Python and all that just for fun. I can sit and play, games if I feel like it for now. Hmm? So work-life balance is good. I am able to follow my passion. I like, cooking or, playing games. All that I'm able to follow, as well as I have huge job satisfaction when it comes to academics as well. Also, if your ambitions are to go abroad, my seniors and even some of my peers are now working as lecturers and assistant professors in University of Kent and University of Liverpool and all that. While my ambitions are more to, I wanted to be in India itself. So if I had to be in India, I wanted to be in the IIMs itself. So I am slowly realizing my ambitions here, and now I am at IIM Lucknow, which is the fourth ranked institute in the country. So I hopefully will grow here. Ultimately, I would like to come back to Kerala someday. I am Kozhikode, although it is ranked lower than Lucknow. Maybe in the long run, to settle down and all that, I might think about coming back to Kerala. But as of now, I am in Lucknow, and I hope at least some of you would consider academics as a career. It's not a place where you don't get money. You get a lot of money, and money does not come only through salary. That is another thing you have to understand in the management academics discipline. You get extra money for every extra hour you teach. As I told you, my requirement is 120 hours. For every extra hour I teach, I get money. For research publications, I get money. For these management development programs I do, I will get money. For consulting assignments that come from corporate or government, I'll get money. So there is a lot of places from which you can make money if you want. That's up to you. How much how much of your time you want to invest in making money, and how much time you want to spend with your family. So this is one profession which gives you that much freedom and control over your life, compared to all the professions that I have experienced myself, and I've seen my friends experience also. As I told you, I have hindsight which is valuable. Around 2 decades since I joined Mar Basilius right now, most of my classmates are doing well in multiple professions, but I've seen people struggle because of the job they are doing, as well because of the job demands also. I would ask you to prioritize your health as well. I've had friends, Mar Basilius classmates, who have passed away at tender ages of 30, 32 also, due to a heart attack, because lifestyle and work life, lack of work life balance and all that. So I guess with that I will stop, because if you let me, I will keep talking if there are any questions that you want to ask. But okay, let me just say one more thing. Why I've been telling multiple stories about multiple careers which I have taken is that it is okay if you do not get your dream job right now and all that. Everyone's path is different. And frankly, you all are actually preparing now for a job that does not exist. The jobs that are in vogue right now did not exist a decade ago or a couple of decades ago, and the jobs are just keeping on changing. You are really not prepared for the job that is going to come 5 years later or 10 years later. So only thing that I can tell you is, be ready to adapt and be ready to learn. That is the only thing that will ensure that you will remain current and remain market ready and maybe employable. And again, as I reiterated, please consider management education as a field. One another benefit is you can apply to these IIMs, FPM program, which I told you, or the PhD program. You do not have to do a master's to actually apply for the PhD program in the IIM system. And if you are planning to pursue, academics as a career, please do it from one of the older IIMs, or try going abroad and taking it from the foreign institutes, because sadly in India there is still a lot of white man worship, and it helps to have a foreign degree, or you have to get it from the older IIMs, the top blackie, that is your ABC, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Kozhikode, or Indore. If you take it from all these, it's a plus point. I'm not saying the others are bad, but if you get from these, it's considered better. Okay, I'll open the floor for questions.
So we got a question.
Yeah.
So which MBA would you recommend after engineering?
Which MBA in the sense, are you asking institute or stream, or what is it that you are asking for? So stream, okay. So majorly 4 streams, as you know, your marketing, operations, finance, and HR or OB and HR. Those are the major 4 streams which come. As I told you, there is no one single solution. The stream would ideally depend on your aptitude and your interest. All of them are equally good. All of them pay well, provided you get your MBA from a good institute. Marketing is where most of the jobs are. But if you actually do from a good institute like the IIMs or some of the top tier institutes like your MDI or IMT Ghaziabad or SP Jain and all that, you also can get into general management roles like consulting, which also gives you a lot of money if that is your objective. But another thing is, most of the management programs out there in the premium colleges are not streams. You don't have to choose a stream when you join. When you are joining an MBA program. You are basically joining a general management program. In the first year, almost all your subjects would be same for all your classmates. In the second year is when you would be majorly taking all the electives. So now, based on the electives, you can actually claim whether you are a marketing major or a HR major or or an operations major. So and the new thing which is coming now is analytics. Analytics is what is in vogue right now. Every stream offers that also. You can specialize in marketing analytics, OB analytics, HR analytics. All that is out there. So only thing is, I would suggest, if you are interested in MBA, go for it, and then experience. The first year you will experience all the streams, and then understand what is. As I told you, I went with a mind that I wanted finance. So I realized that I did not have an aptitude for it, and I shifted to marketing because I found an aptitude for that. Right? Okay. Anything else?
So you did electronics engineering, right?
Yes, I did electronics engineering.
So when did you realize that I must go for doing management, and how did you prepare for CAT exams during college days?
I had started giving CAT from engineering days itself. Tips obviously is you have to be self-driven. Put in at least 2-3 hours per day. I'm not saying sit 24 hours and work. I don't believe that's practical. But when you are sitting 3 or 4 hours, make sure you are fully dedicated to it. Most importantly, go take those mock exams, whichever institute is giving. Be it your time, be it your career launcher, be it, I don't know, IMT, I don't know which are the most popular things, or Byju's, I don't know. All of them give you mock exams, because CAT is not about how many questions you saw or how many questions you get correct. It's more to do with time management. It's about identifying the correct questions and getting that right, because you will never get time to complete the entire CAT question paper, because CAT is a percentile game. CAT is not a percentage game. I don't know whether you understand what percentile is. Percentile in simple terms is how many of the students who wrote CAT are below you. And also there is negative marking. So your objective should be to get all the questions you have attempted correct, not to get all the questions correct. I don't know whether I'm getting across to you. So even if you have just got 30% of the entire question paper correct, you still have a very good chance of getting into one of the good colleges, even if you have not attempted 70% of the question paper. I don't know what the current trend is now. At the point in time when I was taking, that was the trend. Now maybe, I don't know, it is 50-50, but still you do not have to get the entire question paper correct. Once you realize that, no, it is actually liberating. Then you do never focus on one question, never spend a lot of time trying to crack that difficult question, because there will always be easy questions mixed in with the difficult questions. So just focus on getting your basics correct, because CAT does not test complex maths and all that. It only tests your basic maths, basic English, and basic logical aptitude. Just keep doing all those question papers, and you can crack it. It's not rocket science. It's very easy to crack CAT if you put in your effort. But you have to put in the effort, right? I've seen even really not bright students also putting in hard work and getting into the IIMs. So it's not hard. And now there are 20 IIMs. But ideally, you should try and get into the top IIMs. But there are 20 IIMs. Yes, anything else?
Sir, do you have any memories of MBCT you would like to share?
Too many, but I think, as I told you, we were the second batch, and I was asking them. I was asking Nikhil as to do placements happen now, and is Crossroads called still Crossroads? Because we started it. It's our baby, and we had to struggle, for sponsorships. We had to struggle for participation, but it was a huge success. Even the first time we did it, because uh, uh, we did it at a scale. I don't know whether I really don't know how it is done right now. At that point in time, it was unseen and unheard of at that scale. When someone did, we went to NIT. MBCET actually went to NIT participate. I believe that's called Ragam. We won the championship that year. We bet CET. We bet CET in academics. We bet CET in NIT. This Ragam. It was an amazing batch. We really had that drive to go out and beat every college out there, and I believe that helped. We built a legacy in 2-3 years itself, and everyone started to sit up and take notice what MBCET had to offer. And on the personal front, obviously, that is the place where I had my first crush, first heartbreak, everything. And it definitely helped me grow as a person. Very fond memories, sad memories also. But looking back, that nothing I would change from MBCET. I hope you guys also have that. Right? Anything else?
So we got one more question.
Yeah.
Fees is quite large for MBAs in IIMs. Is it worth it?
Yes. IIMs, if you're going to the top IIMs, definitely worth it. I understand it's around 20 lakhs now, 18 to 20 lakhs in most of the top IIMs. But once you get into, especially if you get into ABC, LKI, the returns are good. If you do well in the MBA, that is. It's again up to you. If you are in the top 50% or top 40%, your packages are pretty good. Even if you have to pay 20 lakh loan. And there will be a lot of banks out there who would give you loans at very attractive rates if you're joining the IIMs. So don't worry about that. If you get into a good IIM, get in. You can easily repay the loans. Or else, if you have the funding, you can go abroad, get that UK MBA, and you can earn in pounds and dollars and all that, and repay your loan easily from there as well. Right? Right. It's worth it if it's the top IIMs. Or ISB, not just the IIMs. You can go for the ISB as well. Is it good to study? I am very conflicted right now, because I actually did it from at that point in time it was tier 1, tier 2 border. Now maybe it is tier 2 thanks to all these IIMs out there. If they are charging you more than 12 or 13 lakhs, it's not worth it, is my take on it. Because the kind of placements they are getting, I do not think they pays you that much. Tier 2 colleges, but there are still some tier 2 colleges which are value for money. Seek out those colleges. Like other than the IIMs, if you have to do, you can maybe in the south there is TAPME, which is considered well. ISB, Great Lakes, IMT Ghaziabad, MDI Gurgaon, I guess, SP Jain. Great Lakes in Chennai is also a good option. So all these gets you, good returns. But one thing you should also think is, don't go for tier 2, go for all the tier 1s. uh, Although you might not get 12 to 15 or 20 like kind of packages in the first year of your job, one thing about MBAs is you can jump faster. That is, within 1 year or 2 year you can jump jobs, and you can easily get around 50% to 100% kind of hikes. So your 8 lakh to 20 lakh would happen within a span of 6 to 7 years itself. So you'll be able to pay back your loans without too much trouble. Time value of money also, no? What 10 lakh is worth is not what 10 lakh is worth 5 years from now. So it's okay, I believe. If you are getting a tier 1 college, go for it. Tier 2, I mean, yeah, think about it. If it's not too high, the fees, you can go for it. If it's too high, don't go for it. One another thing you should realize about MBA is that don't go by the placement reports. Almost all the average salary packages are inflated, even among the IIMs. So don't base your judgment on that. You can reduce around a lakh or two on the average package they show, and then understand what the average package is. Okay, what else?
That's all the questions, sir.
Okay, then. Thank you for having me. Right,
Thank you, sir.
you can always reach out to me on my mail ID or my WhatsApp, which I'll share with Nikki. You can share it with anyone. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. As a token of appreciation, IEEE PES SBC MBCT would like to present to you a virtual momentum. Thank you, sir. Next, we will move on to our final speaker of the day, Major Shiju Nainan. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so first and foremost, good evening to everyone. First of all, good evening. I was just going through the available online members, so I just saw some of my teachers there, especially Archana ma'am, Soji ma'am, Sheenu ma'am, and Sureshmi ma'am. Teachers, if you are listening to me, yes, good evening to all of you, ma'am. And then good evening to all other students, members who have joined this webinar session. Also good evening to my other fellow speakers, Dr. Krishnan and Ramit, my beloved friend. We passed out together in 2014 batch. I still remember how we used to roam around in MBCT in those college uniforms. Now we are here addressing you guys. Okay, so it's a proud and privileged moment that you have invited me for this to take a small webinar session. And starting as an intro, as I have been already introduced, myself, I'm Major Shiju Nainan. I passed out from MBCT in 2010, 2014. I was there from 2010 to 14 batch, triply in electrical and electronics engineering. And then I joined IMA Indian Military Academy, Dehradun in the year 2015. I did my 1-year training in Dehradun from Jan 15 to December 2015, then got commissioned into the arm of Army Air Defense. I'll bring about all different arms and services which are there in Indian Army, which I'll bring out in my subsequent phases. And also, after commissioning, I joined Army Air Defense, as I already said. Apart from Army Air Defense, there is infantry, which all of you guys would be aware of, artillery, armored, other corps and branches which are there in the Indian Army, which I'll cover in subsequent phases. Okay. So before starting my class, like 2 weeks back, maybe Nikhil gave me a call that there is this online webinar class where I need to speak or guide students or fellow MBCTians on how to join Indian Army, or my experiences and other phases, or other the way which I have chosen to join this prestige service. So basically, this class I'll try to cover in 2 or 3 phases. Firstly, my basic experiences, like what all I have gone through to join the army. Then how you as a candidate or as an individual, you can join the Indian Army. And then as third phase, I'll take any questions or any doubts if you guys have. Okay. So first of all, I'll start with my experiences. Uh, I hope I can speak both in English and Malayalam. Nikhil?
Yes, sir. Both languages fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, starting with my experience, I would say 2015, the Jan was the time when I joined the Indian Army or the Indian Military Academy. 2014 July, I passed out from college, and then എല്ലാവരും ഇപ്പൊ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ it was that phase where we were sitting and thinking ഇനി എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം next what to do, and that was the time like even I didn't have any clue. എനിക്ക് ഒരു ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല ആർമി എന്താണ്. ലൈക്ക് ഐ വുഡ് സേ 2013 വരെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ടിൽ ദ ടൈം ഐ വാസ് ഇൻ മൈ ഫോർത്ത് ഫൈനൽ ഇയർ ഒരു ഐഡിയ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല ലൈക്ക് ഹൗ ടു ഗോ അബൌട്ട് ഇറ്റ്, അല്ലെ എന്താണ് ഇന്ത്യൻ ആർമിയിൽ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, എങ്ങനെ ചെയ്താൽ അവിടെ എത്താം. സെയിം നേവി എയർഫോഴ്സ് സെയിം തിങ്, എന്ത് ചെയ്താൽ അവിടെ എത്താം, എങ്ങനെ ആ ഒരു സ്റ്റേജിൽ എത്താം. ഐ ഡിഡ്ന്റ് ഹാവ് എനി ക്ലൂ. എപ്പോഴും മൂവീസിലൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് ലൈക്ക് സീയിങ് മെൻ ഇൻ യൂണിഫോം, സീയിങ് ദ വേ ദേ ആർ ടേൺ ഔട്ട് ആൻഡ് all those things they are doing. മൂവിയിൽ കണ്ട ഒരു പരിചയമുള്ളായിരുന്നു ടിൽ ലൈക്ക് 2013 വരെയൊക്കെ. Then 2014 I remember first time when these placements and everything started happening. Even എനിക്ക് രണ്ട് IT companies I got placed. One was Accenture and other was UST Global. So അവിടെ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ ആ കോൾ ലെറ്റർ വന്ന ടൈമിൽ ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് തിങ്കിങ് ഓക്കെ ഈസ് ദിസ് ദ ഫീൽഡ്, ഇതിൽ പോയാൽ വിൽ ഐ ഗെറ്റ് മൈ ജോബ് സാറ്റിസ്ഫാക്ഷൻ. ദ ടേം ജോബ് സാറ്റിസ്ഫാക്ഷൻ ഇസ് വെരി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ്. അവിടെ നിന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു ഫേസ് ലൈക്ക് ഞാൻ എങ്ങനെ ആർമിയിൽ എത്തി എന്നുള്ളത് തുടങ്ങുന്ന അവിടെ നിന്നാണ്. ഐ സ്റ്റിൽ റിമെമ്പർ എൻ്റെ അക്സെഞ്ചർ ജോയിനിങ് date എന്നായിരുന്നു. That was the same date I had my interview for the army. So I remember my friends and other my family or parents were saying ki why you want to go for the Indian Army when like you have a confirmed job in hand. Accenture വിട്ടിട്ട് എന്തിനാണ് ഈ ഒരു ഫീൽഡിലേക്ക് പോകാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നത്. That matlab put me into a dilemma. Like I started thinking, okay, will it be right? Am I doing the right thing? എന്തൊക്കെയാണോ ഇപ്പം ഇതിലോട്ട് പോയാൽ like will I be able to clear it? Like joining army is the chance or the ratio of joining, I would say, is 1:25,000. That is what it said. Around for one course, around 5 lakh to 6 lakh candidates appear, and 50 to 60 are the ones who get into the IMA for one course. So അതാണ് ആ ഒരു ആസ്പെക്ട് റേഷ്യോ, ആ ഒരു റേഷ്യോ ഓഫ് ഗെറ്റിംഗ് ഇൻ. സോ ആ ഒരു ഡൗട്ട് ഡയലമ വാസ് ദർ, ബട്ട് സ്റ്റിൽ ഐ ബിലീവ് വി ആർ ഓക്കെ. എന്തായാലും ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ദർ. ഈ ഒരു അക്സെഞ്ചർ ഓർ UST ഗ്ലോബൽ ഒരു IT കമ്പനിയിൽ ഇരുന്ന് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നതിലും ബീങ് ആൻ ഇലക്ട്രിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയർ ഇവർ പോയാലും ഐ വുഡൻ ഗെറ്റ് മൈ ജോബ് സാറ്റിസ്ഫാക്ഷൻ. ഒരു ഡെസ്ക് ജോബ് ചെയ്താൽ ഐ ഡിഡ്ന്റ് നോ എന്തുമാത്രം ഐ കുഡ് like satisfy myself or how happy I'll be after 2 or 3 years. So that's how I took a decision. Okay, I'll try for this. അങ്ങനെയാണ് 2014 September, if I'm not wrong, yeah, I went for my SSB interview. SSB is the Service Selection Board interview that is there before joining the army as an officer. I went for that. My first attempt, it was there in Bangalore, SSB Bangalore, and I cleared it my first attempt. So that is how my journey started into the Indian Army. Okay. And again, after joining, training. First thing that comes is the training, 1 year training in the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun. That 1 year training is what makes you or what makes a guy or a girl. Matlab, there is both option of men and women joining the forces. So that 1 year is what changes you from the boy or girl you are now into a soldier. Okay. So that 1 year of training, I would say it's a very, very, very rigorous training, but not like impossible. Nothing is impossible there. കാണുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് തോന്നും ഇനീഷ്യലി അവിടെ എത്തുമ്പോൾ. ഐ സ്റ്റിൽ റിമെമ്പർ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഡേ വെൻ ഐ റീച്ച് ദ അക്കാഡമി, ഐ സോ മൈ സീനിയേഴ്സ്. ചിലവർ അവിടെ തൂങ്ങി കിടക്കുന്നു, ചിലവർ റോപ്പിലൂടെ ഇങ്ങനെ ഹാങ് ചെയ്ത് കിടക്കുന്നു. And someone is running here and there, someone is lifting their bicycle, carrying it on their head, all type of ragadas. Ragadas is like that punishments or the things which you call academic ragadas. So I was like, okay, I don't know if I'll be able to survive this, sustain this. I had no clue matlab ആ ഒരു ടൈമിൽ. But as I said, be confident. ആ ഒരു പറ്റും എപ്പോഴും have that confidence in yourself. Okay, എന്നെ കൊണ്ട് പറ്റും, we can do it. ആ ഒരു കോൺഫിഡൻസ്, ആ ഒറ്റ കോൺഫിഡൻസിലാണ് ഐ വെന്റ് ഫോർ ദ ട്രെയിനിങ് ആൻഡ് ഐ കംപ്ലീറ്റഡ് ഇറ്റ് 1 year. Okay, again coming to the training part, like many people have this doubt. Okay, training they don't know what is there. Is it only about physical? Is it only about training thing? I will be able to it? I have this problem, that problem, medical problems. എനിക്കിത് പറ്റുമോ എന്താണ്? I'll tell you, before joining the academy, എൻ്റെ ഒരു example എടുക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ, if my teachers remember, I was around 90 kgs during that time before joining academy and the college time. I was 6'2" tall and 90 kgs around. And after joining academy, within 1 month, if I'm not wrong, within 1 month or 1.5 months, I came from 90 to 70 kgs. So that is the kind of rigorous training we had initially. But still, if it was possible for me, NNGATilum, VKI students, I mean, VKI candidates, other people have also done it. So it is not a big thing. Why I'm telling this is, like, I had this basic doubt, like, will I be able to do it? Will I be able to clear it? Will I be able to complete it? So clear that doubt, matlab, don't keep or don't have that doubt ki enne kondu pattuvo enikku idu cheyan pattuvo nu. Just go for it if you are totally interested. Again, that is a very important term which I'm using, that is interest. Only go for it if you are totally interested. Like pressure, like someone else has joined or you are seen in the movies, just because movies മാത്രം കണ്ടുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് പോണം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ just because I need a job, I need some government job, ആ ഒരു ഇതിന് മാത്രം if you try to go, then that won't be a good option. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so like, if you are totally interested, you think that, okay, this is something which you want to do or you like to do, there is some patriotism or some kind of motivation within you that, okay, Indian Army or the forces are one option for me, then go for it. Okay. Now, 1 year of training. After that, 2015 December, I got commissioned. Commission is the term, like, training, you go to a regiment or a battalion. Army, again, like I said, Army Air Defense battalion or a regiment. We basically have all the radars, missiles, and other things. Basically, being from a engineering background, I had a technical entry. I was from a technical entry, so I chose Army Air Defense at that time. It doesn't mean that you cannot opt for other infantry or armored or artillery, other like arms to go on, but I chose Army Air Defense at that time because I thought my engineering background might help me in that field. In Army Air Defense, basically, we deal with missiles, radars, and other things. We have a vehicle mounted with radars and missile systems. Basically, our aim, our role in war is like enemies, like enemy aircraft detect and against action if required. Okay, that is my role. Even if you have any other doubts on other arms like our and then infantry, all of you are aware, like the ones which you see in movies and all, the ones who carry rifles and other things, those are the infantry guys. Then artillery is the ones who uses golas or the big ammunition or the big shells and other things which you see in movies. Those are the artillery guys. And then armored, the ones who uses tanks and other things, those are armored arm. Angane pala arms undu. And then there is EME, electrical and mechanical engineers arms, and like that 7 to 8 arms are there. So after commissioning or after the training, you have an option to fill in your choice of arm. Eda armlote ningu poanannulladu avada choose cheyidu. So that time I chose Army Air Defense, and then I got commissioned into AD or Army Air Defense in December 2015. 2016 January, again I joined my unit, which was there in Hisar, Haryana at that time. I still remember 2016 Jan, like Haryana la time laka, it's very cold. It's around like 4 degrees, 5 degrees. So initial phase unit lo pombo, you don't get like paramedi, you are an officer, you get commissioned as a lieutenant. But when you join your unit, you are seen as a kid, a new kid here who has just joined the battalion, who's joined the regiment. So you get a treatment like that only. Even your juniors or the Jawans and other JCOs, even they won't respect you. You won't even get a proper accommodation to stay. You are being put into a tent and all. I still remember those days of mine, shivering cold days of January. I was put into a tent for around 2-3 months. You stay there, keep yourself warm, and apart from that, you have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, be awake till 12 in the night, all those things. But I'm not but all of that is worth it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so 16 Jan, I went to my regiment. It was there in Hisar at that time. Then 3 years I served in Hisar. First rank which you got commissioned, when you get commissioned, the first rank is lieutenant in Indian Army. 2 years as a lieutenant. Then 2017 I got promoted as captain. Then 2020, last year, after 6 years of service, I became major. I'm presently in the rank of major. Okay. Then 3 years I've served in Hisar, Haryana. Then 2 years in Gopalpur. Again, it's a place in Orissa. Then now again got posted back to Ambala. Ambala is again in Haryana. From last 1 year, I'm in Ambala, Haryana. And most probably next year, I'll get posting to Jammu or Northeast, any of those field areas. Okay, this has been my experience in the army. Any more doubts you can ask me about that. And now I would like to cover in brief, like how can you join army or army to join GMND and the First and foremost, like there is this website, Join Indian Army. Maybe if someone of you who are interested might have gone through that website, joinindianarmy.nic.in. website, if you go, if you open that website, it will show you entire thing, like endaka type of entries are available, how you can join, are you like eligible, like depending on your age and your education background, like are you eligible for which all type of entries, all those things you can see there. And at the basically as a broad overview, I'll tell army there is two types of commissions. One is the permanent commission, the other one is the short service commission. Permanent commission is when you have to serve for at least for 20 years. So it is where you get pension after serving for 20 years. And then the next one is a short service commission, where you serve for a minimum of 10 years and you can extend up to 4 more years. That is 14 years you have to serve. That is a maximum 14 years which you can serve if you are got commissioned as a short service officer. Okay. But you don't get pension if you are a short service commissioned officer. There are two types of commission or two types of entries which are there in army, two types of commission which are there in army. And also training is there at two places. One is the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, NP training it permanent commission. All the permanent commission officers get trained at IMA, Dehradun, and all the short service commission and the lady officers or the lady cadets who join army get trained at OTA Gaya or OTA Chennai, that is Officers Training Academy, Chennai. Here under training institutes are army ku and ഏതൊക്കെ type of entries ഉണ്ടെന്ന് ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ there is PGC, that is my entry technical graduate course, wherein how you get into that is after engineering there is a basic cutoff which is required. For when I was there, during my time, it was only just 63% for electrical engineers. So that was the basic cutoff, 6.3 GPA, CGPA, or 63%. That was the cutoff. If you have that cutoff, you can directly go for this SSB interview. If you have cleared, if you are above that cutoff. Same all other arms or other branches, civil, it was 68 or something at that time. Say mechanical, cutoffs. That is one thing, that is PGC. The same end entry. Then there is UES, University Entry Scheme. That is for college students who are in the final year of their college. If you guys have passed out, if a pass out you cannot apply for that. But if you are doing your final year, then this US entry army like offline placement you have to see their website. Like if you are at Trivandrum, you have to if you are at Trivandrum, you can just search in their website, like where are they coming for this UES entry. That is when you are in your final year of college. Then is the CDS, that is Combined Defense Service exam, CDSE exam. Clear you can again join as a permanent commissioned officer. That time you will have a training of 1.5 years. And then there is ACC entry, that is Army Cadet Plus. That is when you get into army as a normal Jawan, and then you write the exam, clear it, and then you get commissioned as an officer. So as an engineer graduate, these 4 type of entries are available at all to join army. Same Navy and Air Force, they have the same kind of entries. Same, but the name is something different, but same type of entries, Navy and Air Force. So this thing, then one thing is the age criteria. I usually get calls from some of my other juniors or friends that at age to join jam. So basically till 26 years, that is during the time of your training, you should be below 27. That is, you should be 26 years when you are doing the training. That is the age criteria. And since you are all engineering pass out, so 20 lower cutoff above. So that is not an issue. But keep this thing in mind that upper cutoff എന്നുള്ളത് 26 years ആണ് before going for the training. Also, army it's not that ഒരു വട്ടമേ you can appear for this SSB interview which I'm saying. You can appear till the time you have turned 26. Okay, like and then in the case I got selected in my first attempt, but I know one of my coursemate who came for training with me, he came during his 16th attempt. So atrem vereka those who are desperate for this, they keep trying and they keep appearing for this 26 age where etra attempt pattuvo atrem vattam you can appear. That is one thing. Okay, ഇനി എങ്ങനെ like after all these exams, what is the basic interview which you have to go through? I have already said SSB on an interview, that is Service Selection Board interview, which is the basic thing or the basic interview which you have to clear to join the army. So SSB interview basically it's for 5 days. It's over a period of 5 days, in wherein first day you will have a screening test. Screening test is nothing much, and at the you will be given aptitude test will be there, and then you will be given a picture. A picture will be shown on the screen. You have to write a story about that picture on your own words. ആ ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി എന്തിനെ കുറിച്ച് എഴുതാം, ഐ മീൻ ആ ഒരു പിക്ചർ കാണിക്കുന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള രീതിയിൽ ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി എഴുതാം. ആൻഡ് ആഫ്റ്റർ ദാറ്റ് ദർ വിൽ ബി എ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഡിസ്കഷൻ ഓൺ വാട്ട് യു ഹാവ് റിട്ടൺ ഓൺ യുവർ സ്റ്റോറി. ബേസിക്കലി ആ ഒരു ഇതിൽ ദേ ഗെറ്റ് ടു നോ അബൌട്ട് മത്ലബ് യുവർ കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് തിങ്കിങ്. ആ ഒരു ബേസിക് ഐഡിയ അവർക്ക് കിട്ടും. ദ ഇൻവിജിലേറ്റർ ഓർ ദ ഇവാലുവേറ്റർ ഹു ഇസ് ദർ, he gets to know about the basic idea which you are having or the basic general knowledge or the basic intellectual level that you are having. ആ ഒരു ഇതിൽ അവരത് നോക്കിയിട്ട് then you get screened in. So if you get screened out, first day ചെല്ലുന്ന ദിവസം ആദ്യത്തെ 2 മണിക്കൂറിനുള്ളിൽ ഈ സ്ക്രീനിങ് ടെസ്റ്റ് നടക്കും. If you have not got screened in, if you get screened out, അന്നേരം തന്നെ you go back, and if you have got screened in, then you stay for 4 more days for the rest of the test. Okay, so rest of the test is over the next 4 days. And that you have psychological test. Psychological around 10 to 12 tests are there. So and that I don't remember exactly the names of all the tests. If you again go to that website, Join Indian Army, under that you have that heading SSB, how to clear SSB or SSB selection something. And ideally it has been clearly mentioned about all the tests and exams which are there. So yeah, one thing is the psychological test. Then is the group task test. Again, group task in the you have like 10 to 15 tests. Under group task also group discussion. Then there is debate thing. Then there is other group tasks which you have to do there. Ground cheyenda korchu panigal. And then final thing is the interview thing. Interview will be a 1-to-1 personal interview with the അവിടുത്തെ ഒരു ചെയർമാനോ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ബോർഡ് മെമ്പർ ആയിട്ട് അറൌണ്ട് 45 to 50 minutes മിനിമം ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്. So ഈ 3 കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാവും over a period of 4 days, and after that it will be decided if you will be selected or not selected. Okay, so ഇതിന്റെ again ratio I'll say like ഒരു SSB ടെസ്റ്റിന് വരുന്ന strength is around 200 to 250, which comes for the screening first day. Screening almost 90% screen out ആവും first day. ഒരു ബേസിക് ട്രെൻഡ് ആണിത്. അതിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് എൻ്റെ എക്സാമ്പിൾ എടുക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ 250 of us came and only 30 got screened in. 30 got screened in, and finally only 2 of us got selected. So that's our aspect ratio, our ratio of selection in this thing. Okay, and then people ask me like how to go about SSB എങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യും, എങ്ങനെ ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാം, like ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാണ്ട് പോയാൽ പറ്റുമോ? I would say never go without being prepared. Be prepared for it. Like പോകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് you should have a basic clear idea about which all tests are there in the SSB. Psychology ആണെങ്കിലും ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഡിസ്കഷൻ ആണെങ്കിലും you should have all the clear idea about ഈ ടെസ്റ്റിൽ ഈ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് വരുന്നത്, ഈ ടെസ്റ്റിൽ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ള സാധ്യതകൾ, everything you should be very much clearly aware. അതില്ലാണ്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് if you say okay ചുമ്മാ പോയി നോക്കാം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ I would say it's a waste of time. And how to prepare that, like online also you have lot of videos or books which are available to clear or about SSB. It is there. And if you want a personal trainer type thing, you can again contact me. I'll share the contact of one of the Brigadier Nair, who had trained me during my training time. I mean, who had guided me before joining. I went like around 2 weeks. He guided me. Like in SSB, again, I would say, ആർക്കും നിങ്ങളെ പഠിപ്പിച്ച് വിടാൻ പറ്റില്ല. Okay, like ഇതാണ് വരുന്നത്, ഇതാണ് ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കണം. This is what you should be doing. That you cannot do. Maximum that can be done is guide you. പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ പറ്റും. Okay, ഇതൊക്കെ ഈ ഒരു രീതിയിലായിരിക്കും എക്സാം, ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇതിന്റെ ചാൻസസ്, ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വരാനുള്ള ചാൻസസ് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ്, ഈ ഒരു like basic ഒരു ഫോർമാറ്റ് അത് പറഞ്ഞു തരാൻ പറ്റും. He can just mold you, guide you. Nobody can exactly teach you things for an SSB. And also SSB, I would say it's not a big thing like my fellow speakers were saying, like IAS folio, IPS folio, like atra വലിയ knowledge level or അത്ര അധികം intellectual level ഒന്നും വേണ്ട. In army, I would say കൂടുതലും ബുദ്ധിയുള്ളവരെ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ഫേമസ് സ്പോർട്ട് വിച്ച് അവിടെ പറയുന്നതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ അധികം അധികം കൂടുതൽ ഇന്റലക്ച്വൽ ലെവലുള്ളവർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൂടുതൽ ബുദ്ധിയുള്ളവരെ ആർമിയിൽ വേണ്ട ബിക്കോസ് ദേ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് തിങ്കിങ് മച്ച്. So those are the people also who is not required in the army. So you should be in that basic IQ level. Full IQ ആയാലും കുറവ് IQ ആയാലും it's you cannot then sustain in the army. So ആ ഒരു mediocre level IQ ലെവലുള്ളവരാണ് basically എടുക്കുന്നത്. That is one thing. And ഇതാണ് SSB test. More, if you have any more queries on SSB, you can still contact me, or you can go through those websites or those books, where you will get a clear idea about it. Okay, after SSB comes the medical exam. Again, medical army, it's like after SSB, if you have cleared the SSB, then there will be medical exam. Like I had in Bangalore, it's again for 4 to 5 days of medical examination, wherein A to Z, they will be testing on you, starting from your eyesight, your hearing level, your teeth, and everything. Every nook and corners they will examine on you. They will carry out ECGs, they will carry out X-rays, ഓരോ കാര്യങ്ങളും ഇഞ്ചിനായിട്ട് they will test before joining. അതിൻ്റെ അകത്തും people ask like what is the eyesight or power sight which is applicable for army. Is it 6x6 like some people ask like I wear specs like എനിക്ക് -2 ഇത്ര power ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്, so can I join? Even I had like a power of -2.5 before joining the army. For army, for the TGC entry, which I told up to -4 or -4.5, if I'm not wrong, our eyesight level, it's fine, it's okay. And same with Chelori, I have one friend of mine had asked that he had diabetes, so will I be able to join? Yes, he was also able to join. Our level on it's not like you get rejected. No, if you are within that certain level or certain limits, then you can clear this or clear the medical examination. Or if you have something which is sortable or other rectify ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന എന്തെങ്കിലും കാര്യങ്ങളാണെങ്കിൽ that also they tell, and they give you some time, like 1 month time is given. Like for people who are overweight, okay, they give you 1 month time to reduce, and if you can reduce up to a certain level during that time, again they will clear. Okay, that's up for the medical thing. And then medical കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ then you get the call letter, you join the academy, then you start with the training. ട്രെയിനിങ്ങിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, don't worry, I mean just don't think ട്രെയിനിങ് ഇങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും അങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും ഭയങ്കര കൂടുതൽ ഇതായിരിക്കും എന്നെ കൊണ്ട് പറ്റില്ല അങ്ങനെ ഒരു type of mindset പോവാതെ, like everyone has been doing it, എല്ലാവരും ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്, you do it in a group, you also can do it. So have that confidence in you, and you will clear it. And then after training, you get commissioned into one of the arms or services which you are interested. You get you join that arm, that regiment which I was saying. So that is the basic overall guidance or overall steps how you join the army. Then these are my experiences or my like recommendations for you. And also people ask like why Indian Army? I mean, why do you want to join army? And then army will join. Like, are you happy? Are you satisfied? I would say I'm completely happy, completely satisfied, and the kind of proud feeling which I get when I think of it, like where would you professional going, I would say I wouldn't have got this proud feeling. So if you want, just go for it. It's the best thing to opt for. Again, I would say like army is not like a job or not a profession. It's basically like a way of life. Everything changes once you join the army. Like once you go into the army, civilians of you are defense or you are the army guy. Normal civilians. You start addressing them as civilians. So our way of life completely. Or job 9 to 5 job, you are there for 24/7. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു വേ ഓഫ് ലൈഫേ മാറും, എല്ലാ നിങ്ങളുടെ രീതികളും കാര്യങ്ങളും എല്ലാം മാറും. ആൻഡ് അഗെയിൻ ലൈക്ക് അവിടെ 24/7 ആണെങ്കിലും per year you get 80 days of leave, for which you can come home, or എവിടെ പോണെങ്കിലും you can go around, like you can go abroad also if you want on a holiday or something. So our restrictions ഒന്നുമില്ല. Right now I am on leave, so I am lucky that during that time only Nikhil has contacted me, so I could like speak to you guys. So yeah, that is one thing. Then again, if you ask about the quality of life which you get after being into the army, it's like best thing which you can get. Like again, it's not like a desk job, like you work for 9 to 5 or that thing every day is different for you. You will be posted to somewhere. ഇന്നൊരു കാര്യം ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നാളെ അതായിരിക്കില്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്, മറ്റന്നാൾ വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ആയിരിക്കും ചെയ്യുക. So every day some or the other adventure comes up, some or other variety is there in your job or in your profession. So for that, all those things I would recommend. If you are interested, go for the forces. And then benefits again, apart from all these things, the pay which you get is also quite handsome. Like you get a good amount of pay. Even after the pay commission, last pay commission, even if you are joined as a lieutenant, you get about around 90,000 to 1 lakh is the starting packages. If you think about the money and all, like people ask you, and the friends questions are I'm addressing it. How much do you get paid and all those things. So yeah, you get paid handsomely. So don't worry about those things. And all the other benefits which you get after joining, like the health benefits, you have complete free medical facilities, all the medical military hospital based hospital, free medical facilities you have, then education facilities for your kids, all the army schools, KV, everything free education you have, good quality education you get, then accommodation till the time you are there in army, your accommodation and food is free, and then the canteen services which you have. So all those benefits you have as a add-on to this service. And then also, yeah, like I said, the job security or the economic stability which you will have, that is also comfortable. You can have a comfortable way of life after that. And at the end, if you ask me, like, it's a chance to serve your motherland. At the end, that is the thing. So if you're interested, if you have that thing, if you have that feeling inside you, please do join. So yeah, that's all for my class. I'm open for any queries, any doubts, any questions. If you have, you can ask me.
So we got a few questions.
Yeah.
So should we go for TGC or CDSC? Which one would you recommend?
Okay. TGC, as I said, is training is for 1 year. You should have a minimum percentage or a cutoff. Other varsham it differs. Like end time when I joined for electrical engineering, it was 6.3 or 63%. Our cutoff on the matram, you can go for TGC. Anneram, you don't have to write any exam. Directly you go for the SSB interview. That's TGC. And only 1 year of training you will have. And then you have 1 year of anti-date seniority also. Anti-date seniority within one varsham promotion earlier out. Like lieutenant in the captain or a promotion you get within 1 year. Then if you go for CDS no you have to write a combined defined service examination or aptitude or general examination on the paper that you have to clear. Only after clearing that, your name will come in the merit list. Then only you can go for the SSB. SSB is still there. SSB and appear CDS you have to go for that exam, and then you have to clear that exam, then go for SSB. Then the training is for 1.5 years. That thing is also there. That seniority, technical seniority is also not there. So, and given both the options, TGC is the best option or the better option, but it's for people who have that cutoff percentage. And TGC is only for BTech or BE engineers. Engineer graduates will be matra entry on TGC. CDS no another degree courses all the BA, other arts degree exam you come, that is CDS exam. So given a choice, TGC always.
Next question. Sir, when you did you came across any person from MBCT while you are in the army?
Yeah. One of my batchmate only 2010-14 batch mechanical Captain Ebin Matthew, and the same batch and the same coachmate. He has also joined in the junior and he joined after 2 years. He's in the armored corps, Hippo captain. So he's one more guy whom I know has joined army.
Okay, sir. Next question. So what are the medical criteria for joining?
Medical criteria for joining, again, like eyesight, certain type of, if you have undergone certain surgeries or thing, don't think it best option is clear go to a nearest this military hospital. If you are in Trivandrum, Pangod, MH Pangod under Ernakulam Sanjeevani Hospital, Navy in the Sanjeevani Hospital, you just go for a regular examination there. They will clear. Full examination, like if you are eligible, you just tell them your problem, like I have this much eyesight problem or this surgery I have done. So am I eligible? So although don't fully neglect fully cut off like if I have this problem, so I cannot go. Just go to that military hospital, get tested by that doctor who is there in the military hospital. He will clear these doubts. So medical, അതാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്, ഐസൈറ്റ് ആണ് ഏറ്റവും കോമൺ ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്രശ്നം എല്ലാവർക്കും വരുന്നത്. -4.5 വരെയുള്ള ഐസൈറ്റ് ഈസ് then if you are only up to -4.5, then you are eligible.
Okay, sir. The next question. So, from which SSB did you got recommended from?
24 SSB Bangalore.
Next question. So, what does engineering corps in the army basically do?
What does the engineering?
Corps, CORPS.
Engineering core, engineering core in the army do. Okay, engineering core. Okay, engineer എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു like I said I am from army air defense. അതേപോലെ ഒരു ആം അല്ലെ ഒരു കോർ ആണ് engineers എന്നുള്ളത്. We say that engineers are the first one who go into the war and the last one who come back after the war. ഒരു യുദ്ധത്തിന് പോവുകയാണെങ്കിൽ മൂവീസിലെ കാണുന്ന പോലെ കുറെ വയർ ഒബ്സ്റ്റക്കിൾ വിരിക്കുക, മൈൻ ലേ ചെയ്യുക, ഈ പരിപാടികളെല്ലാം ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഡെറ്റോനേഷൻ കാര്യങ്ങൾ, മൈൻ ഫീൽഡ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ബ്രിഡ്ജ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുക, ബ്രിഡ്ജ് ലേ ഡൗൺ ചെയ്യുക, റോഡ് കൺസ്ട്രക്ഷൻ, ആർമിയിൽ വരുന്ന ഈ ടൈപ്പ് കൺസ്ട്രക്ഷൻ റിലേറ്റഡ് വർക്ക്സ് എല്ലാം ക്യാരി ഔട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എഞ്ചിനീയേഴ്സ് ആണ്. ബേസിക്കലി സിവിൽ എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആണെങ്കിൽ, ഇഫ് യു ആർ എ സിവിൽ എഞ്ചിനീയർ, then if and you go as a TGC entry, then you don't have any other option. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എഞ്ചിനീയേഴ്സിലേ പോകാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ആൻഡ് ഇഫ് യു ആർ ലൈക്ക് എൻ്റെ കേസിൽ ഇലക്ട്രിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയർ ആണെങ്കിൽ സീറ്റിൽ ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യും. എൻ്റെ ആ ടൈമിൽ എൻ്റെ ബാച്ചിൽ we were 7 electrical engineers were there, only 1 seat was there for engineers. I also wanted to go for engineers, but seat ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല, ഒരു സീറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ, someone else got that. അങ്ങനെയാണ് I came to AD. So these are the things which engineers do. They basically lay mines, bridges, roads, all the construction works, all the detonation related works. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് മെയിൻലി അവരുടെ റോൾ എഞ്ചിനീയേഴ്സിന്റെ.
Sir, is it difficult to get into aviation corps?
Aviation core, again, difficult to tell. Like I said about the medical exam, aviation has after the normal medical thing, they have a bigger medical exam or the other aviation related medical exam. And the eyesight is a very clear this thing that you need to have 6/6 eyesight, 6/6 or clear. Even if you have -0.5 eyesight, then you cannot go for aviation. Aviation is not a difficult arm to join. For those who don't know, aviation is the ones, hepters, like army hepters, or the hepter pilots are the one who go for aviation. Aviators, we call them. It's not difficult. Like once you join for the training, after training, you can choice of arms, you can give aviation. Medically, you need to be fit. ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലമോ, ഒരു ബാക്കിന്റെ ഇഞ്ചുറിയോ പ്രോബ്ലമോ, മൈന്യൂട്ട് പ്രോബ്ലംസ് പോലും പാടില്ല മെഡിക്കലി. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ ദാറ്റ്സ് ഇറ്റ്. ആ മെഡിക്കലി ഒരു പ്രശ്നമില്ലെങ്കിൽ, ലൈക്ക് all the other arms, you are fit to be an aviator. You can fly.
Next question. What were your preparations for SSB interview?
Okay, preparations for SSB interview. Okay, first of all, what I did was I had a mentor. Like, if you contact me, I can give his contact. He's based in Ernakulam only, Brigadier Nair. So he guided me. എല്ലാ ടെസ്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ചും എനിക്കൊരു ബേസിക് ഐഡിയ തന്നു. He told like ഈ ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റിൽ ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, what all type of things comes up during that test or that exam. ആ ഒരു ഐഡിയ എനിക്ക് കിട്ടി. Then I started doing like preparing for all those tests. Like ഒരു ബേസിക് ഐഡിയ കിട്ടി, ഓക്കെ ഈ ടെസ്റ്റിൽ ഇതാണ്, ഈ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇതാണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് എന്നൊക്കെ മനസ്സിലായി കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് പ്രിപ്പയറിംഗ് മൈസെൽഫ്. ബുക്സ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു 1-2 ബട്ട് ആദ്യം ഞാൻ വായിച്ചോ പഠിച്ചോ എന്നൊന്നും പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. കുറെ വായിക്കുകയോ ഒന്നും ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല ഈ SSBക്ക് പോകുന്ന മുമ്പ്. ജസ്റ്റ് എല്ലാ ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ചും ജനറൽ ഐഡിയ, ഈ ടെസ്റ്റിൽ എന്താ ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് ഐ ന്യൂ, ദാറ്റ് വാസ് ദർ. ബട്ട് നോ മച്ച് ലേണിംഗ് ഓർ മച്ച് ഓഫ് like technical knowledge is not required for this thing, for the SSB interview. So my preparation included like going to him and then preparing like എന്നും ഒരു maximum half an hour I would have spent ഓരോ ടെസ്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ചും ഇങ്ങനെ നോക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി half an hour for like 1 or 2 weeks maximum. That was only my like kind of preparation which I had. Then again physically കുറച്ച് you need to be active, fit ആയിരിക്കണം ആ ടൈമിൽ, ട്രെയിനിങ് ടൈമിലൊക്കെ. സോ ഐ സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് റണ്ണിങ് ആൻഡ് ഓൾ. ഐ ലോസ് ലൈക്ക് വെയിറ്റ് ലോസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ ഫ്രം 90 ബിഫോർ ജോയിനിങ് അക്കാഡമി ഐ കെയിം അപ് ടു 80 kgs. Academy join our training I came up to 80 kg. So 10 kg I had reduced before joining this, before going for the SSP interview. So that was also there. In a basic general knowledge, like Adipam, you don't have to worry that you need to know about everything. Even if you're not aware, that's not an issue. But try to maintain that basic general knowledge, day-to-day aspects. ഇപ്പം നടക്കുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ, കുറച്ച് military related or national issues which are happening right now. Try to have a basic idea about all those things. Those were my preparation things.
Sir, do you know anyone in the forces who have exercised the option of getting LASIK done and then got into the forces? If going ahead with the option of getting LASIK done, how do I proceed? How to proceed ahead with it?
Okay, LASIK ne kurichu choichonde, I am myself the one who have done LASIK, but I didn't do before joining. Before joining, like I said, I had a power of -3 or -3.5. I used to have contact lenses that time, so -4.5 era acceptable ആയിരുന്നു. So I joined. After joining, I did my LASIK surgery. So LASIK ചെയ്യുന്നത് after joining also you can do, but before joining മെഡിക്കൽ എക്സാമിന് 30 I think 1 year മുമ്പേ വരെ നിങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാവാൻ പാടില്ല ബേസിക് സർജറി. They get to know again. I would say go to that military hospital or a military practitioner, eye specialist or someone who can guide you on this. Military അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ കറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പറയാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ലൈക്ക് can you go for this LASIK surgery or ഈ ഒരു ലെവൽ വരെ ലേസിക് ചെയ്താൽ പറ്റുമോ? ബിക്കോസ് ലേസിക്കിന്റെയും ഒരു ലിമിറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ലൈക്ക് -5-6 ഉള്ള ഒരു ലേസിക് ചെയ്താൽ അതും അക്സെപ്റ്റബിൾ അല്ല, ഇഫ് ഐ എം നോട്ട് റോങ്. So rather than me giving an comment on this thing, it would be better if you go to a military doctor who can guide you on this thing. Even as a conclusion, I would say, like what I already told, army, like don't think it is as a profession or a thing where you can just earn money. If you join army, it's a complete change in your way of life. So you get to do all the adventurous things, all the new experiences and all those things which you get. If you are someone who is not really comfortable with IT jobs or a desk job, so then you can definitely consider this thing. Army matram venonilla, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, the options only. You can go through all of them. എല്ലാത്തിനും അവരുടെ വെബ്സൈറ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ലൈക്ക് ആർമി വിച്ച് ഐ സെഡ് ജോയിൻ indianarmy.nic.in, സെയിം ഇൻ നേവിക്കും എയർഫോഴ്സിനും ഉണ്ട്. ജസ്റ്റ് ഗോ ത്രൂ ദോസ് വെബ്സൈറ്റ്സ്, യു വിൽ ഗെറ്റ് എ ബേസിക് ഐഡിയ ലൈക്ക് ഇഫ് യു ആർ എലിജിബിൾ ഓർ വാട്ട് ഓൾ തിങ് യു നീഡ് ടു ഡു ബിഫോർ ജോയിനിങ്. ആ ഒരു ബേസിക് ഐഡിയ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടും. It has been explained very well in all those websites. So if really interested, go for it. And if any more doubts, you can still contact me. Nikhil Sender phone number and email ID allowed. You can still contact me.
Thank you so much, sir. This was an interesting and informative session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. Once again, thank you so much for inviting me to this like online webinar session. I'm so privileged to attend or talk to you guys for some time.
Thank you, sir. As a token of appreciation, IEEE plus SBC MBCET would like to present to you a virtual memento. Thank you, sir.